It is very hard to predict what the narrative around the next bear market will be. Will it be Mt. Gox? Will it be Silk Road? Will it be the ICO bubble burst? Will it be COVID? Will it be FTX and Three Arrows Capital? There's probably going to be a new narrative. Now, one potential reason why the next bear market could accelerate is the Bitcoin treasury companies. Now, this is led by Michael Saylor's strategy, and those kind of companies tended to just accumulate Bitcoin over the long term. But maybe that long-term trend turns around, and that could trigger a potential awakening in the market, potential panic. Because have a look at this. This is MSTR, so the MicroStrategy stock, relative to the Bitcoin price. Now, before MicroStrategy bought Bitcoin, it tended to underperform BTC. Once it started buying Bitcoin, here, this vertical line, that's where MicroStrategy tended to trade with the Bitcoin price, potentially even outperforming. But here is the risk. For more than a year, MicroStrategy stock has underperformed Bitcoin massively by 65% now. The MNAV is at 1.05, so the market cap of MicroStrategy relative to its Bitcoin holdings isn't that much higher anymore. In other words, it's less and less profitable for MicroStrategy to buy more Bitcoin. If the stock underperformed just by another 5%, it would not be worth it for MicroStrategy to sell any stock anymore to buy more Bitcoin. There would be zero incentive because the market is putting no more premium on MicroStrategy stock relative to just directly buying Bitcoin. So it would be a bet with negative expected value for Michael Saylor to buy Bitcoin when MNAV falls below 1. Michael Saylor would rather be incentivized to sell Bitcoin and buy back the stock. Have a look at the market cap relative to Bitcoin holdings ratio. So that's in blue. It's close to the all-time low. But also have a look at the unrealized gains. MicroStrategy is still in profit by roughly 8 billion. There have been times when they had been in unrealized losses. That maxed out at roughly 1.8 billion. But have a look at when Michael Saylor is able to buy Bitcoin. This is the purchase BTC over time. There was a lot over here when Bitcoin was close to all-time highs. Here is the number of BTC that have been purchased, and we can clearly see the vast majority happens when Bitcoin sees new highs. And there is a good reason for that. In the end, MSTR or strategy stock is just a fancy way to lever up Bitcoin exposure. And MicroStrategy uses the existing Bitcoin holdings as collateral to take on more debt. Now, the value of that collateral is directly linked to the Bitcoin price. So the ability for MicroStrategy to buy more Bitcoin is positively correlated with the Bitcoin price. When the Bitcoin price is low and when MicroStrategy is in net unrealized losses, it's very hard for the company to buy more Bitcoin. The collateral isn't worth that much anymore. It's hard to lever something up that did not go up in price. Try to get a HELOC on your house when you're currently underwater. It's not possible. We can also look at the purchases just in terms of quarterly accumulation. Again, everything happened when Bitcoin hit new all-time highs, and it's going down very consistently. And that's the risk. Here is MicroStrategy's average cost basis per Bitcoin. It's currently at $75,000. We did have a period of roughly 1 year where MicroStrategy was in net unrealized losses. So the company is not going under just because it doesn't have unrealized losses, but it is incentivized to sell some Bitcoin. It might not do so because it doesn't send a great signal to the market, but financially it would be the smart thing to do, right? Sell Bitcoin, buy back the shares. So even though Michael Saylor might have diamond hands and might just hope for a recovery, he's not able to buy the bottom. It's not strategy that's creating the end of a bear market. Strategy is simply just stabilizing the price slightly higher and is buying high. So you don't want to just copy what Michael Saylor is doing. You want to do the opposite. When Michael Saylor is buying, you want to sell. When Michael Saylor cannot buy, you want to be the buyer. There's another source of income for MicroStrategy, and that is selling options. Now, options are more valuable when the stock is more volatile. Unfortunately, the volatility of strategy stock also tended to go down. And that's only partially because Bitcoin's volatility went down. Bitcoin's volatility is actually somewhat stable. MicroStrategy's volatility went down much more. By the way, if you're enjoying this video so far, then feel free to give it a like. It will help to spread the word. It will tell the algorithm to show the video to more people. Thank you very much. Here's another display of how much more risky MicroStrategy stock is relative to just buying plain old Bitcoin. MicroStrategy is a levered bet on BTC. The drawdown from the top to the bottom was 90% in December of 2022. Bitcoin drew down by only 76%. So whenever Bitcoin is sneezing, MicroStrategy is getting a cold. Bitcoin from the all-time high lost only 30%. MicroStrategy from the all-time high lost more than 70%. And that kind of leverage is much larger this time around compared to prior drawdowns, right? For example, here, Bitcoin fell by 30%, but MicroStrategy fell by only 55%. That's because MicroStrategy is more levered today than it used to be. It now owns more Bitcoin relative to its market cap, and so it became more aggressive compared to just a few years ago. For me to get bullish, I want to see money flowing into the market. This is the stablecoin market cap over time. This goes up whenever people deposit their hard-earned fiat currency, say to a centralized exchange. The centralized exchange sends it over to a stablecoin custodian. The stablecoin custodian then mints tokens. And that's what we see here, the token minting. Whenever people withdraw from crypto back into the old fiat system, that's when tokens get burned. This year was the collapse of Terra Luna, and this year was the collapse of FTX. And we turned around, we got bullish again in October of 2023. Now, even during that bull market, we did have our periods where the stablecoin market cap didn't go up much. But during those periods, the Bitcoin price didn't do that well either. It rather dropped by roughly 30%. And so we do want to see inflows. And unfortunately, the inflows have slowed down massively in the last 2 months. Before, over the course of 2 months, we saw the stablecoin market cap grow by more than 10%. Now, in the last 2 months, it grew by less than 1%. And it does take new money for prices to go up long term. And so let's simply hope that there won't be a MicroStrategy implosion kind of event. Now, I don't think that MicroStrategy will go bankrupt, but there is the potential danger that Michael Saylor will sell some Bitcoin or potentially do something indirect to hedge Bitcoin exposure. And that could lead to another extended bear market and potentially outflows out of the system, as we saw after FTX. This massive sell-off of MicroStrategy relative to Bitcoin is concerning. The situation is getting worse by the week. And so let's see what happens in January. Will MNAV fall below 1 and what will be the consequences of that? Clearly, MicroStrategy will slow down their Bitcoin purchases, but will something worse happen? That's yet to be seen, right? That's why it's a black swan event potentially. Nobody can perfectly predict a black swan event. There were some rumors around the anchor protocol of Terra Luna at the time when this imploded. Those rumors intensified a few weeks before the actual implosion. So yes, there are some people with foresight here. And actually, my historically most viewed videos are on the implosion of Terra Luna. So if you had been around at the time, I hope you got spared from some of those losses. Now it's time to be rather cautious with MicroStrategy stock. The momentum is very, very clear. And really, I think it only makes sense to be very risk on when the market is expanding, when there's actually money flowing into the system. If you want to automatically copy trade my trades, then feel free to check out the premium membership. I opened up a community pool. That pool made 17% in the last 5 months, while Bitcoin during the same time period lost 25%. So I try to make money independent of market environments. I try to make money in a market neutral way, or delta neutral. We go long and short at the same time. We bet on falling altcoins and we hedge that with the general market. That's how we can get more return than most. That's how we become a winner in a market where most others are losing. So you can manually copy trade whatever I do. You can also allocate your capital towards a capital pool and I then trade for you. A link to premium pops up here on the screen. Just click on that. There's more information. Thanks again for watching. If it's your very first time here, feel free to subscribe. I publish this regularly. A like would be very much appreciated as well. It helps the channel grow. See you next time on YouTube or see you in premium. Cheers.